the hopefully the more progressive teachers are actually more savvy about delivering like a democratic message without really ever mentioning politics. It's subtle, and they'll never say, oh, this is a liberal or a democratic way of doing this. They just make that the norm. This is how we handle things. It's subtle.
And that's how you get away with it?
That's how you get away with it.
And how do you make sure the parents don't find out?
They can find out, so long as you never mention the politics.
And then later down the line, you're going to vote Democrat. And you will have done a great service to our country.
Project Veritas strikes again. They've caught on hidden camera a principal of an elementary school openly admitting that he deliberately discriminates against hiring Catholic teachers specifically and conservative teachers generally, so he and his staff can indoctrinate their students in radical leftist liberalism. We're going to listen for ourselves on what this progressive principal had to say, and make sure to stick with me to the very end of this video when we'll find out precisely the way we can crush this woke brainwashing campaign in our schools once and for all. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. It's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent and wacky woke times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. And before we get started, gang, if you have not heard yet, my brand new movie, The Return of the American Patriot, The Rise of Pennsylvania, is now available for pre-sale at a discounted price by clicking on the link below. But that discount is about to disappear, so don't wait. For limited time, you're going to get a special 25% discount if you pre-purchase my movie. You're going to absolutely love it. It's so inspiring. We already have thousands signed up for it, so don't wait. Click on that link below or go to the returnoftheamericanpatriot.com. You do not want to miss this inspiring, patriotic documentary. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. James O'Keefe and Project Veritas have struck again. This time, a hidden camera caught a fellow by the name of Jeremy Boland, the assistant principal, Cos Cob Elementary School in Cos Cob, Connecticut, part of the Greenwich school system in the greater New York area, not too far away from where I grew up outside of New Haven. Very posh, very upscale Greenwich community. This fellow Boland is in charge of 360 students. Now think about that as you listen to him describe his ideological agenda for these students. Take a look.
So then what do you do with the Catholics if you find out someone is Catholic? So have you found like that certain religions tend to be more right-wing?
Not a huge expert in religion. Protestants in this area probably are this way. For Catholic,
If people knew that you like didn't hire conservatives though, do you think they would be pissed or like?
I'm not allowed to ask their political leaders, and they're not allowed to ask me. So it just comes down to the question.
All right, so now, of course, most people are up in arms, as they should be, that this guy is admitting to breaking the law. He's actively and deliberately discriminating against job applicants on account of their religion. And that's horrible in and of itself, and it will most likely get this guy canned. But what he just said there is far more significant than simply violating equal employment opportunity laws. I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought a key tenet of political liberalism is that we don't do that anymore. Isn't that the case? Remind me, right? Aren't progressives the ones who claim to have evolved past those knuckle-dragging dark age practices like discriminating against one's personal religion? What kind of uneducated hick continues to do that? You see, what this principle just disclosed for us here, what we listened in on, is the current contemporary state of liberalism, which has become radically illiberal. Now, this to me is a very, very important observation. This guy, this principle, is actually absolutely right. Studies have confirmed that so-called religious people, I actually despise that term, but regardless, religious people are far more conservative than non-religious people. And the reason for that, the most superficial level, is rather obvious. Religious people are actively engaged in conserving religion in their lives. They're attracted to and drawn to the notion of embracing and defending an ancient belief system, conserving it from extinction, as it were. But that superficial level actually points to a much deeper and wider level of significance to what this principle revealed. And that's his liberalism, his leftism, is in point of fact inherently anti-religious. And that's because liberalism itself, by its nature, is anti-religious. Beginning in the early 19th century, liberalism increasingly expelled religion from the public square, particularly Christianity in its Catholic and Protestant forms. And that's because liberalism is rooted in a meta-narrative of, and you guessed it, liberation. And you have to ask, of course, from what are we being liberated? And the answer is you and I are being liberated from the supposed dark ages where religious dogma and superstition govern the whole of society. Science, yeah, seriously, science and scientific rationalism alone, according to the 19th century liberal, were enough to govern society. We don't need religion anymore at a political or social level. You can have it in your own private life, even though that frankly has nothing to do with the term religion. Religion comes from the Latin religio, which refers to social obligations, including, and most especially, political ones. But then again, as we know, liberalism never really cared about the objective meaning of words. You know, woman, recession. Liberalism by its nature is radically anti-religious. And here in this hidden camera expose, you could see for yourself a bona fide liberal demonstrating that radical anti-religious bigotry that's at the very heart of this twisted ideology. This is merely one of the reasons why liberalism is becoming increasingly illiberal. At least when it comes to religion, it is a radically exclusionary and discriminatory ideology.
I need younger, but if they're older, I'm not allowed to do that. I can't tell them I'm not interviewing you because you're older. I just don't interview you. Sometimes the older you get, the more set in your ways and more conservative you get. I can't get past the parents anymore. So because I can't get past the parents, do I really have as much of an influence on the kids as I want? I try in my own way, but right now my job is to hire the right teachers. Teaching them how to think. That's it. It doesn't matter what they think about it. If they think about it in a logical, progressive way, that becomes their own.
So you kind of like geared onto thinking a more liberal way.
I believe hopefully the more progressive teachers are actually more savvy about delivering like a democratic message without really ever mentioning politics. It's subtle. They'll never say, oh, this is a liberal or a democratic way of doing this. They just make that the norm. This is how we handle things. It's subtle.
And that's how you get away with it?
That's how you get away with it.
And how do you make sure the parents don't find out?
They can find out, so long as you never mention the politics.
And then later down the line, you're going to vote Democrat. And you will have done a great service to our country.
Wow, gang. I mean, you could not have scripted that more menacingly. I mean, it literally sounded like it was coming out of a movie. But then again, Hollywood would never, ever make a movie like that, right? Now, again, at one level, and remember, you get multi-level analysis here on this channel, so make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. But at one level, based on what this principle just said, this should forever dispel any doubts that our public schools are indeed teaching far-left ideals like the radically racist doctrine of CRT, critical race theory, right? Just compare what this principle openly admitted to what the lamestream media was saying recently about CRT in relation to the Virginia gubernatorial election. Check it out.
This election has become the latest to weaponize something called critical race theory. Critical race theory is it's become the new dog whistle, except you can actually hear it, so it's not really a dog whistle.
Yeah, let's start there. Critical race theory not taught in Virginia schools. But it does show that Republicans are good. It's dishonest. It's not a good faith argument, but they are talented at branding. They're talented at making an election about certain issues, even if they don't have any basis in reality.
One key issue for Youngkin, opposition to the teaching of critical race theory in schools. The curriculum is not taught in Virginia schools, and McAuliffe has called the tactic a racist dog whistle.
What he calls critical race theory, even though it's not taught in Virginia schools.
And the notion that critical race theory is being taught in Virginia classrooms. A lot of these voters, Chris, weren't able to exactly articulate what that means.
A lot of them believe that critical race theory is being taught in the schools. They don't like that, but it's really not on the curriculum in Virginia.
Critical race theory that is not taught in public schools in Virginia.
But critical race theory is not taught in Virginia K through 12 schools.
Critical race theory, as we know, isn't taught in Virginia schools.
There's no evidence it's been taught in public schools.
It is not taught in any Virginia high school.
It's not taught in public schools.
Gang, as you can see, they're liars. They're just liars. They actually have replaced reporting with Democrat Party talking points. It's so blatantly obvious. We've caught a principal red-handed admitting that the whole point of his hiring practice is to indoctrinate students in the left-wing ideology. And that brings us to perhaps the single most important takeaway in all of this. This really is game-changing if you truly understand it. But gang, don't forget to click on that link below and support an amazing patriot, the one and only Mike Lindell. Mike is offering his most super discounts ever on all MyPillow products if you use my code Turley for all your purchases. Click on the link in the description below as always, and let's support our dear friend Mike Lindell and all he's done for us. Now, the game changer here is that all of this insidious woke liberalism making its way into school curriculum is resulting more and more in parents realizing the intimate connection between classroom and culture. In other words, education is not as much informative as it is formative. I'll say that again because obviously this Libby principle gets that, right? Education is fundamentally not so much informative as it is formative. It's not so much about imparting a bunch of information into the skulls of students. Frankly, gang, I was a teacher for 20 years. It's forgotten in the perpetual pattern of cram, test, forget, right? What's not so easily forgotten are all the practices and subtle messages that students learn throughout the day that cultivates within the student a sense of what's normal and natural and what's obligatory. And that cultivation, that formation, is what all teachers and principals and school administrators are always doing. The ancient Greeks had a word for this. They called it paideia, which referred to the way in which education initiated the student into a particular kind of culture, a particular way of being human. It's vital that we understand this. All education does this. All education is going to initiate students into a culture, into a particular vision of what's good and right and natural. And so the question we always have to ask when it comes to schooling is not whether my child is going to be socialized into a culture, but what? Rather what? What culture is my child being socialized into? That's the game changer. And when all is said and done, this principal that was caught on hidden camera admitted that the culture he and his staff are deliberately attempting to initiate their 360 students into is far left progressive liberalism. So how do we fight against this? Well, gang, I got a deep dive video into the single best education out there today available to you right now. If you've got kids or grandkids, this is going to change your life. So make sure to click on this video and I'll see you over there. God bless.